Hi guys, today's topic will be a rather not so fun fact about Overlord and how the story actually came to be. Because the story of Ein Soul Gone is, at its very core, quite tragic. The undead Overlord didn't desire wealth, power or fame or the eternal life as an undead Overlord to begin with. He simply wanted to have a good time with his friends and escape loneliness. But as his friends gradually took on more responsibilities, like career and families, Suzuki Satoru, Ein Soul Gone's real-world identity, the identity and the person he was, back in his old world, in the year 2138, was left alone in his guild. The characters his friends had created, like Demiurge, Cocytus, Aura or Mare, were all that remained of them, along with the memories he had of their time together. And here's where it gets truly heartbreaking, because the entire story is actually based on a real experience of the author, Maruyama-sama, who was a passionate Dungeons & Dragons player, and he went on many adventures with his friends. But just like in the anime and light novel Overlord, more and more of his friends left their D&D sessions and their D&D group due to work or family. In other words, what happens to Ein Soul Gone in the story is based on Maruyama-sama's own personal experience, which also explains why so many elements from Overlord, like for example Death Knights, characters like Cocytus, and the tier magic system, or the general layout of the Great Tomb of Nezarec, are heavily inspired by Dungeons & Dragons, even if a lot of the mechanics have been altered or modified. And by the way, Dungeons & Dragons also strongly influence Dark Souls. The mechanics where you sit at a bonfire and prepare or memorize spells is lifted directly from Dungeons & Dragons, and you can find the same system in games like Pathfinder or Baldur's Gate 2. So to conclude this video, the reason why Ein Soul Gone is so attached to the characters, the NPCs that his friends had created, is likely because the author Maruyama-sama himself is attached to the characters that his friends, with whom he played Dungeons & Dragons together, had created as well. And many of these characters from Overlord are likely directly inspired from the characters from these Dungeons & Dragons games that he had with his friends. And with that said, now it's your turn. What do you think about the story of Overlord and the real-life connections? Let me know it down in the comment section. And while you type, I say thank you very much for watching, thanks to all of my Patreons for supporting this channel, and as usual, have a nice day.